Have you ever worked so hard for so many hours and you've been telling yourself the entire time that it's just going to be a good paycheck, and then you finally get that paycheck and it's about 5 times as small as you thought it was going to be? Yeah, me too. My name is Campbell Bryant, and this is how I learned that I wanted to go into the marketing/sales industry. I realized my love for sales when I first started working in the service industry. I was about 16 years old, and I had just started my first serving job at a Jefferson's in Trenton, Georgia. My first night, I made about $40 after a 7-hour shift. I was not super happy with the outcome of just $40 after that long. That's less than minimum wage. So I asked my coworkers how much that they had made. None of them made below $150. So young, naive me was questioning, what are they doing differently than I am? Why am I not making as much money as they are? So I asked my dad, someone that's been in the service industry and the sales industry for decades, and he told me, you work off of tips, and if you're dealing with courteous people that do tip 15 to 20% or more, the higher the price you create, the higher the tip you make. Therefore, you have to try and sell them something more expensive. After hearing that advice, my entire mindset towards people changed. I started expanding my marketing strategies, studying menu, statistics, networking, and increasing my overall knowledge of people. Over the 4 years I've been practicing this, I realized that marketing and sales really is my passion, and I think mainly because I'm fairly good at it. In the service industry, it's not just about bringing people food and drinks, it's about creating personal relationships and learning the ways that people work in order to make your maximum profit. I learned that there are multiple types of people, but everyone tends to fall into these few certain categories. First is going to be a talkative person, someone who's going to engage in conversation. That's where you kind of have to be careful. You can be able to create a connection with someone, but you have to have boundaries so that that one table doesn't affect all of your other tables. The second type of person that is very, very common is going to be the Karen, as we all know. They will not be polite. They have very high expectations, and there's little to no chance of actually pleasing them. So in this circumstance, you just try and do your best, and you try and do everything as perfect as you can, but at a certain point, you have to realize you win some and you lose some, and most of the time, Karen tables you're just going to have to take an L. You're not going to get a good tip if you get any at all. So in the circumstance, you learn to identify hard-to-please people and how to deal maturely and respectfully with people that don't treat you the same. This leads us into our third type of customer, and that's going to be the showboater. The showboater is always someone that's asking for top shelf liquor, the most expensive items on the menu, but when it comes to a tip, sometimes they're going to tip you very well, and sometimes they're going to be a little reluctant to pay you the way that they act like they will. Those people are very sketchy. I can kind of pinpoint them from the second they walk through the door. But learning how to identify types of customers has really helped me navigate people, and it's made it so much easier for me to create a way to speak to them and treat them the way that they want to be treated. It's a lot easier to get them to listen and cooperate and see you more as a friend than as someone that's trying to do business with them. So in learning how to navigate people, I've learned marketing strategies according to the type of person I am really selling to. I've learned the importance of limits with your strategies and how the significance of the experiences that I have endured has changed everything about the way I kind of go about life. After moving to a new job in Chattanooga, I still do. I work at a bar, and I'm 19 years old. So I was always considered like the youngest, or I was always the youngest in the building, and everyone would, treat me as just the kid that was there. So no, I couldn't partake in the normal bar activity, or at least not legally. But it was really easy for me to impress people with the amount of knowledge I knew about certain things that I wasn't supposed to know about. So that kind of created an upper hand for me in situations like that because the knowledge I had was so impressive to most people, considering I really shouldn't know much at all. And that created such a higher expectation and better opinions of me as just someone that's working there and just trying to learn. But once you're able to impress a customer, whether it be your knowledge of the products, your communication skills, or even just a small commonality, it can go a long way in terms of sales or connections. Once I learned to establish myself and grow the ability to read people, the world of sales became kind of quite easy. The only thing it is that is such a problem for me is to actually just close the deal. That is something I'm still trying to perfect. The first time I made just an unnecessarily large sale was with this group of a couple of 20, 30-year-old men. They had come in to celebrate because their friend was becoming a father. The head of the table, as we call it, in the restaurant I work at, or the bar I work at, he told me as a secret beforehand that the entire tab was on him, so he was paying for everyone's drinks. So my opportunity to bring up their check was just sitting right in front of me. This is when I learned how easy it was to kind of manipulate or encourage someone's decisions in my own benefit. After the head of the table ordered around for everyone, I started slightly encouraging the others to drink or to order drinks for the future father, and planted the idea in their heads that in a few months, these moments won't come so often, so they should treat this night like it is their last. Small little conversations really do go a long way so far, like as I learned in this one specific scenario. A simple disagreement will spark a fire in everyone. For example, if a table, just like this table did, they ordered a round of Fireball. And it's really easy to change their decision and get them to choose something that's a little more expensive when you read them right. So I asked myself, okay, well, all of these guys golf. I know that because they're all wearing golf hats and golf apparel. So I was like, well, if they can afford $100-something golf clubs, I'm sure that they can afford a price of a better ranked cinnamon whiskey like Stillhouse. So you try and pique curiosity, and in the easiest way, that's going to be judgment. The simplest condescending comment makes all the difference in the world. My life changed after that one little phrase left my mouth, and I will reenact it for y'all. So the guy ordered, I want 6 Fireball shots. And I was like, Fireball? Really? And then after that, I could upsell anything that I wanted. Anything that tasted similar, I could get them to buy a way more expensive thing. So the longer I've been in the service industry, the more I want to move into other sales industries. I truly enjoy making money, and I enjoy planting ideas in people's heads, and especially because those little ideas can change so much about their lives. It's really, it kind of is a little bit humbling. And if anyone that has ever experienced going from Fireball to Stillhouse, a cheap to fairly nice, elegant, alcohol, you understand it is a big change, and it changes how you react to things, and it's very important. But honestly, the phrase, the higher the price you create, the higher the tip you make, was so simple, but it was so life-changing for me. It changed my entire perspectives and motives for the past 4 years and probably for the rest of my life, and it's really led me down the road I'm traveling on now. Learning to read and profile people changed my life and the way I interact. It's created an ability to calculate others' moves before I react, and it creates way less confrontation. Once I learned how to read what type of customer I have, the more I learned about the products to sell to each type of person. Learning to pique curiosity has become so important for me, and I use it to my advantage to maximize profit and to create very good connections for the future. if I would have never tried to be a server or asked my coworkers how much money they had made that one night, or my first night as a server, I would have never asked my dad and received the transformative phrase that changed my life. One last chance. At the end of the day, I don't truly know if this field is really what I want to go into, nor do I know if I only want to be this because I'm good at it. But whether I wind up in sales or not, one thing that will always stick with me is the higher the price you create, the higher the tip you make.